I'm glad I asked. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm Phil Wink. I'm the president and CEO of Delta Dental of Tennessee. If you would, please stand for the presentation of the colors by the Tennessee State University Air Force ROTC, and remain standing for the national anthem sung this morning by award-winning vocalist Kenna Turner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you very much. Now, please remain standing for our invocation by Daryl Gwaltney. He's the Dean of the College of Theology and Christian Ministry at Belmont University.
Let us pray. God of heaven and earth, creator of all humankind, and Lord of life itself, we give thanks for you on this day and call upon you to join us in this hour. We are grateful this morning for all the hands that have prepared our food, those who grew it and picked it, those who prepared it, and those who brought it to our tables. We pray your blessing upon them all. We are humbled by the service and courage of the men and women whom we support and honor this morning. We know that the ease with which we gather in this place and with which I pray has been earned by their sacrifice, and for this we have gratitude beyond language. May all we do this morning and what this event supports, and may these men and women who have served us, and may it assist them in connecting with their communities and living full and joyful lives. Bless this work that supports our veterans. Bless this meal, and bless this our time together this morning. Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. Delta Dental of Tennessee is proud to be presenting sponsor for the 11th annual Heroes Breakfast. And I want to emphasize heroes. Heroes are men and women who serve us. We've sponsored this event every year because we know how important the work of Operation Stand Down and the people that it serves. The people who are willing to sacrifice so much for us once they take off that uniform and come back to us. Making that adjustment from military to civilian life can be difficult. This morning, you'll hear some of the people from Operation Stand Down who they're serving. You will learn about the progress of their mission and how it has grown to meet the increasing needs of veterans, Most importantly, you will learn how each of us in this room, can be a part of this organization and give hope to our nation's true heroes. Colonel Greg Gatson is one of those heroes. I've had the honor to meet him, and I know you'll be both moved and impressed once you meet him later this morning. So today, we're going to ask you, open your hearts, open your minds, and be ready to open your wallets, because we're here to thank these people for what they've given us. Now it's my privilege to introduce our Master of Ceremonies this morning, Alex Dennis. She's an award-winning television journalist for Channel 2 News and a veteran spouse. Alex and her family are great examples of the dedication and resiliency of military and veteran families. Please join me in welcoming Alex.
Such a generous introduction. I appreciate that so much. I'm honored to be here for my first Heroes Breakfast, but before we start, I want to say, you all look so good, gathered together in a room where we can finally be with one another, making memories and socializing. It has just made my heart happy to see everyone here today. I feel like it's been so long. You know, in the news business, I am continuously reminded just how much I have to be thankful for. Every single day, I read these stories of tragedy and grief, and specifically in the past 2 years, for me personally, I have been reminded how good it is to be flexible, which I am not always good at, how innovation is key, but most importantly, how taking care of one another is really what life is all about. And that is what a veteran possesses every single day and what Operation Stand Down embodies. I'm talking pre-pandemic, during pandemic, they continued to serve veterans, and they will long continue to do it after the pandemic. You know, it's a one-of-a-kind organization, and I want to say thank you, because my family did not know about Operation Stand Down when my husband was transitioning, and it was difficult for us. He couldn't figure out where he wanted to land, what gave him passion after 3 deployments and losing friends of ours. It's hard to put life into perspective that way, like what else is going to give me this joy? Thankfully, we finally found it, but it was a long road. So now that I know about the organization, firstly, you're stuck with me. And secondly, I am so happy again to be surrounded by this community that is dedicated, hardworking, passionate, everything that I would want in a family. And I feel like I am back home. So thank you for having me here today. I appreciate it so much. But there are a lot of special guests here that I've noticed sitting around. We would like to say good morning to you firstly. If you wouldn't mind, Nashville Mayor John Cooper, I know you're over there in socializing. Please stand. We wanted to have everyone here. We've got Vice Mayor Jim Schulman, the members of the Metro Nashville City Council here, as well as any other elected officials. If you are here from the local or state, we also want to recognize that you are here. There are representatives as well as for the national level. Of course, we know Congress is in session, so they're a little bit busy, but they have representatives here for Senators Blackburn, Haggerty, Congressman Cooper, and Green. Thank you all for joining us here today. We appreciate your support. So this event, of course, would not be possible without the dedication and generosity of our sponsors. Most importantly, you met them just a little bit ago, our presenting sponsor, Delta Dental of Tennessee. So Delta Dental's mission, it's really quite simple, ensuring healthy smiles. It's as simple as the act of smiling itself, and it is equally as important. Merely curving up the edges of your mouth can make you feel happier. And it even reduces stress levels. Delta Dental is there to make sure that when you do that, it is a healthy smile that you, in fact, are showing off. So we all know this, unfortunately, in my business as well. Society tends to judge the way that you look. Well, thankfully, we've got Delta Dental to make it all work for us, right? It takes a village. So they ensure that your teeth don't stand out in a way of your next opportunity, whether interviewing for a new job, applying for a home loan, or simply meeting someone in a new way. A healthy smile can give you that self-esteem and confidence that you really need. Delta Dental is proud to support Operation Stand Down Tennessee in its efforts to restore true healthy smiles for our servicemen and women. Delta Dental of Tennessee salutes our veterans and thanks you all for being here today. And we want to thank them for supporting all of the great work that Operation Stand Down Tennessee does as well. So Delta Dental, thank you so much for being here and allowing us to enjoy each other's time. We have some other great sponsors as well. I'd like to recognize our 4-star Generals sponsor, Tractor Supply Company. They are the largest rural lifestyle retailer in the United States. So they are passionate about serving its unique niche, targeting the needs of recreational farmers, ranchers, all of those who enjoy living the rural lifestyle. This is the perfect place to do that. They're also committed champions of the veterans community. So Tractor Supply Company, thank you so much. If you have any representatives here, I'm told just kind of wave your hand. We appreciate you being here. Oh, good. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. And then, of course, Amazon, who is here at our table. We appreciate you, a Generals sponsor. Their commitment to veterans and Operation Stand Down doesn't go unnoticed. And we have seen a major significance and difference because of the mission and the community and the support that you give us. So thank you so much for being here and representing Amazon. Today also marks a milestone for the first hybrid event. I feel like we have all gotten so used to that Zoom call, right? But we are both in person, live stream. We've got a post-event virtual option as well for you. So special thanks go to our friends at Altaria. They are making this all possible. You can see them here up on the screen. They're supporting the virtual technology that is needed to make this hybrid model a possibility. So thank you to them as well. And now I would like to introduce Diane Spencer, of course, President of Operation Stand Down, Tennessee's Board of Directors and Vice President of Regions Bank. Your dedication is something to be commended, my dear. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Alex. And thank you all for being here. Board presidents have both the honor and the responsibility to lead the leaders, from strategic planning to running board meetings to soliciting donors and approving budgets. The board president's role is both challenging and rewarding. If someone had asked me to lead this board through a capital campaign, a renovation, a CEO transition, and a global pandemic, I may not have said yes. But honestly, these past 2 years have been some of the most rewarding of my life. And it's because of the grace and professionalism, the commitment and the dedication of my fellow directors and the entire staff at Operation Stand Down Tennessee. At this time, I'd like to ask our current board of directors to please stand and be recognized. and for the incredible team that is our front line, assisting Tennessee veterans and their families every day, the Operation Stand Down Tennessee staff. Would you please stand so we can thank you for all that you do? And now I would like to introduce you to our CEO, Eden Murray. Eden is actually Brigadier General Eden Murray, a 29-year Air Force veteran who served throughout the US and Europe, as well as the White House and the Pentagon. Eden joined the agency in 2017 as our Chief Operating Officer and took over the reins as CEO last year when John Crenson retired. Please join me in welcoming Eden Murray.
Good morning, everyone. It's sad when you have to come up with your Kleenex to the podium, but I have a cold, so if I have a coughing attack, just bear with me. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you. Good morning in virtual land. We won't ask you to say good morning to us. Diane, thanks so much. Yeah, last year was a little bit challenging. It was for all of us. And certainly at Stand Down, so proud of the team for keeping the doors open and seeing veterans no matter what. But I had a phenomenal setup. Our past CEO, John Crenson, who I actually hate every day for leaving, but that's okay. That's a different story. But he did a phenomenal setup for me. And so all I had to do was try not to mess it up this past year. John got our staff elevated. He got our renovation done on our new building. He set the groundwork for a new office in Clarksville. He was instrumental in enabling Curve Victory Hall to be built, and he just did some really cool things. And so he is here today, and we would have recognized him last year because it's been a year since he left. Did I mention I hate him every day? It's been a year since he left, and of course last year, hello, COVID, so no breakfast. So we'd like to recognize him this year. John, if you'd please stand. And you do owe me money for saying that, and I still hate you. Okay. You've heard a lot about us today, and we're going to show you a short video here, but we're always going to be faithful to our founding mission of helping veterans in crisis, but we've expanded our services. John was certainly the foundation of that, to really look at careers and connections. And so let's take a moment where you can watch some of the folks that we've helped chat about what we did for them.
I started getting in a dark place. You know, you live by yourself and stuff. I started isolating myself, wouldn't go around nobody. And I don't know, I was just thinking about ending it, really.
Thinking that I was about to die and my wife and son were going to end up homeless was crushing me.
One of the most important things that the veterans of this community have is community support. And what Operation Stand Down is able to do for the veterans is to kind of bring all that support together and then pass it out to people who need it a lot or people who need it a little.
I've coined this place, I call it the do-over.
Whatever you're asking, whatever concern you may have, or even if it's just being around like individuals who are veterans, that you know that everything that person is thinking of, whatever they're gonna help, whatever they're approaching to assisting you is about helping you, the veteran.
Having a team around me, giving me guidance, support, mentoring, networking, it made such a difference to get me from kind of where I was, which was fear, was frustration, or the unknown, to a very action-oriented plan.
Operation Stand Down helped me with resume writing. They helped me to get business cards. They gave me advice with my LinkedIn profile. They even helped me with my e-benefits as I was transitioning and going through the medical process.
They help you if you want help. And if you're sincere about changing your life and doing better and stuff, they are here for you.
It made me think of a future at 61 years old that I could actually get back out there.
Operation Stand Down gives veterans back what they felt when they was in the military. A sense of belonging. I can't thank our person stand down enough.
So as you can see, the 3 C's of service: crisis, connection, and careers. We do it all. No matter where you are as a veteran in our community, we've got something there for you. We can meet you wherever you are. So today is all about veterans and their families, and so I'd like to recognize all of us. So if you are a veteran, would you please stand? Thank you. Will any active duty, National Guard, or reservists also please stand? We all know that service doesn't start when you wear a uniform, and so it involves our families. So would our Blue Star family members and Gold Star family members please stand? As you know, we've been around for 28 years, but we have a brand new service center that is state of the art. And I would just like to say that the colors are kind of Air Force blue. And we had the best service, the best color. And we also have a new service center in Clarksville too. If you haven't come and seen us there just to say hi, please do, because you saw the room stand up. There's a lot of veterans in here, and those are your service centers. So please come and see us. Dr. Wing talked about it, but I want to echo what he said. Your support makes a tangible difference for our veterans. Let me say that again, a tangible difference. We have a great internal team, and you got to meet them a few minutes ago, but you're our external team. They cannot do their job without your support. We need all the team to come in to support the veterans of our community and the 10 counties that we serve. You can do that. Dr. Wing said, open your wallet. You can certainly do that. Feel free to give me a check right now. You can run it up here. Or you can use the QR code at your tables, or the one that you see on the screen here, or you can fill out the envelope for us. Again, we can't do this without you. We need all of your support, and we appreciate your support. 85 cents of every dollar that you donate here today will go to veteran program. 85 cents. We're a very lean but top-notch team, and we're really good stewards of your money, hence the 85 cents of every dollar. So I just want to reiterate that. So your investment will be well taken care of. Speaking of our team, as I said, you got to meet them. We have a great staff, and we have a great award to recognize one of them each year. They're all awesome, and they all deserve this, but it's decided on by the group. This is the 9th year that we'll do the Sean Mullen Award, Sean Mullen Above and Beyond Award. Sean was a warrant officer with Company Bravo, 2nd Battalion, 5th Special Forces Group from Fort Campbell. Tragically, he was killed in action in Afghanistan on June 2nd of 2013. His wife was a board member and helped us design, Nancy was a board member and helped us design and create this award. The Sean Mullen Above and Beyond Award was established to honor Sean for his dedication to his fellow Special Forces soldiers and his actions in defense of freedom. It is presented each year to an Operation Stand Down Tennessee staff member who has demonstrated outstanding service and contribution to the veterans we serve. This year's Sean Mullen Above and Beyond Award goes to Caitlin Domingo.
Thank you.
Look over there. Hold the word like that. There you go. Okay. You say a comment?
Yeah. Well, considering I put this presentation together, I had no clue this was happening. So this is totally news. I have been with this agency for 3 years. I love what it stands for. My dad served for 29 years in the Air Force. Military family is basically what I knew. I've grown with this agency. I love what it stands for. I love what it does. I couldn't have done it with without my team, starting with the Welcome Center, Terry, and Ricky and past staff as Kenny and Tim, and then to my development team, Penny Anderson, my boss, is fantastic. Karen and Eden. I love this agency. I love everything. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So Caitlin did give you a little bit about her background. She is an Air Force brat. And her dad did serve in the Air Force. And so we're really, really happy that she has been recognized here. A queen of many trades. Okay, so this is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to see this. Under 3 chairs are taped a Operation Stand Down coin. And if you have that coin, you don't have to look now because I'd like to all see you get up and have your butts in the air looking for a coin. But if you don't want to do that now, 3 chairs have a coin. And if you have that coin, we have a door prize outside for you. They are all veteran products, coffees and or barbecue stuff. So we want to support veteran entrepreneurs and we did that. So look for that coin. Then the other thing I wanted to mention is Hippie Radio is here today. Thank you very much to them. And they are recording stories about veterans, or if you want to give a shout out to a veteran in your family or something like that, afterwards, please go straight out and they will let you record that video. And Tennessee Titans is doing tickets, and if you buy Tennessee Titans tickets, we get money. So I just want to share that all with you. All right, so we're getting to the really important part of this. You may be aware that this Saturday, there is a storied and traditional football game where Air Force will once again beat Army, as we have many, many times before. Yeah, okay, that's all right. Just go ahead and get the crying over now. It'll be better. Our next speaker is a West Point grad, but he has risen above the despair of impending defeat. And as a good friend of mine is gonna help me out this morning. He's currently the director of Vanderbilt University Bass Military Scholars Program, Brigadier General Scott Brower, USA retired, and he is connecting students with their next life through education. Go Air Force.
Good morning, everybody. So this is a never-ending battle that Eden and I have with her love for the Army Air Corps. I had the mic last, right? But I'm actually going to let it slide today, in all honesty. Just watching the heroic efforts of our United States Air Force with the airlift of our last soldiers, Americans, and our teammates in Afghanistan. Truly a heroic effort by that team. God bless them. Today, my job is to introduce a friend, one of my West Point classmates, our keynote speaker, Greg Gadsden. I'm going to tell you 2 brief stories about Greg that I hope can give you a little perspective on who he is. The first one, I'm going to take you back to the fall of 1987, when Greg and I had our only class together. It was electrical engineering, and at West Point, the sections, when you meet at a specific hour, they have sections. Maybe it's 1 to 15. And the kids with the best grades are in section 1, section 2, section 3, down to section 15. So the instructors can kind of teach you right at the same pace of learning. So if there was 15 sections of electrical engineering in the hour Greg and I were in class together, I think we were in section 33. There was a group project where myself, a marginal baseball player, Greg, an outstanding football player, and Mike Perkins, the captain of the soccer team, were lumped together. And as soon as we got together, Greg immediately goes, I got the acknowledgement statement. The acknowledgement statement is the cover sheet that says we did this work on our own and we received a little bit of help, right? Because cadets do not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do. So it's the simplest of tasks, which left me and Mike Perkins to do the rest of the work. That is the only class I ever received a D in at West Point. And I want to tell you, Greg, I've finally come to grips with it and I've forgiven you I've now forgiven you for my only D, because clearly that wasn't my fault. The other story I want to tell you about Greg ties to his football career and his teammates. When Greg played at West Point, they had a plaque. And on that plaque, which was written by, there was a part of a poem from Sir Andrew Barton, a Scottish sailor, of all things, right? It's in the locker room at West Point. And it's on his plaque. They had it at home games and away games. They took it with them. And the players would all touch it before they went out onto the field. The plaque reads, "I lay me down for to bleed a while, and I will rise to fight with you again." Some of Greg's teammates, after Greg was wounded in Iraq, brought that plaque to him at Walter Reed Hospital when he was recovering. I cannot think of a more fitting description of Greg Gatson. Greg laid down and bled for a while for us. And then he rose again to continue to serve and fight with us and for veterans and for everybody else in this room. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a warm welcome for Colonel Retired Greg Gatson.
Well, good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Scott, for that great introduction. And you know, it is always humbling to be in front of such a large crowd, but to have your classmate introduce you, it is truly an honor. It's truly a blessing. We have another classmate here, RJ. Where you at, RJ? Okay, he won't stand up, but look, we really got a chance to serve our nation together, and that, you know, if you haven't picked up on this morning, it's really about serving. It's really today, as much as it's about veterans, this recognition of how veterans serve and their families serve our nation. It's now our turn. It's our turn to serve them when they're in crisis, when they have challenges, when they are transitioning. On the eve of Veterans Day, just a week out, our forefathers have really identified from the very beginnings of our country, that if we do not take care of our veterans, then fundamentally, we are not underwriting the security of our nation. It is our responsibility. It is my responsibility as someone who wore the uniform to inform, inspire, remind our nation, remind our communities that the men and women that have worn a uniform, we cannot forget. And so this Veterans Day, we may be off, we may be shopping, there's There's certainly a commercial aspect of it, but I just ask you all to take a moment. So many of us in here, veterans, families of veterans, and people in the community understand that some folks didn't come home. Some people have made an ultimate sacrifice. And many of us that survived and recognized that sacrifice struggle. People ask me, why do I push? Because I gotta live my life for those that didn't come back. I gotta pay it forward. So as I think about my story, because every veteran has a story, every one of us. Every one of us has a story. So I think about the men and women that I got to serve with. It wasn't about me, it was about them. It was my responsibility to make sure that they could take care of themselves, that we could accomplish the mission and all come back home. In 2005, I was selected to the rank of lieutenant colonel. But most significantly, most proudly, I was selected the command of battalion to lead men and women in combat. Now, we were in the midst of 2 wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, so it wasn't a question of whether or not we would go into harm's way. It was just a matter of when and where. I was fortunate to literally have to start a unit, an organization from scratch. In civilian terms, it was a startup. 400 plus men and women, very few of them with combat experience. And so that doubled my sense of urgency. In about 15 or so months, we would grow to our full strength. We found ourselves at the National Training Center in the Mojave Desert out at Fort Irwin, California, training to deploy. At the beginning of our training, we really didn't know where we were going to go. We just knew it was going to be Afghanistan and Iraq. But about 15 days into our 30-day training assignment, they would make the decision to send us to Iraq. You see, in late November of 2006, many of you might recall that Iraq was starting to slip away from the coalition forces. It was spiraling out of control. And so they decided to send the brigade I was part of. I was one of 6 battalions that formed the 4th Brigade of the 1st Infantry Division. They decided to send us there to bolster just the security. You see, I was in an artillery unit, accustomed to shooting large projectiles at great distances, but this wasn't the mission that they needed us to do. They would ask us to bolster the security of our forward operating bases and our lines of logistics and communication. And so what that meant for me and my organization is that we not only had to retrain, but we had to reorganize. And I'm very proud today, as I was nearly 15 years ago, that these young men and women answered the call of service. They didn't complain, they didn't gripe. It's what our nation needed us to do, it's what our Army needed us to do. And so we did that in our remaining time at Fort Irwin to the satisfaction of our division's leadership. We were stamped with the seal of ready to accomplish our mission. We would get back to Fort Riley, Kansas, ship off our equipment, and take the holidays with our families. When we returned from the Christmas holidays in early January of 2007, change two. President George Bush would announce the surge of forces. He would commit an additional 5 United States Army combat brigades to Baghdad alone. And I was part of the second of those 5 brigades that would deploy. And now they were asking my mission to change again. And so now, essentially, we were asked to fight the counterinsurgency fight. Provisional infantry, RJ. I know RJ is an infantry officer, and he takes exception to other branches calling themselves infantrymen. But look, we were fighting a counterinsurgency fight with our fellow combat brothers and sisters. It was about fighting for the hearts and minds of the local populace while dealing with a difficult insurgent with the simple but difficult mission of ending the violence, getting the violence under control. Well, in those early months of 2007 in Baghdad, I can tell you that they were the most difficult that I'd ever experienced in my 17 plus years of service. Almost every single day I can recall that a U.S. service member would pay in full measure. Imagine going to work every day understanding that somebody was not going to come back. But we understood our mission, we understood our task, and we took it head on. So as you can imagine, that there were many difficult days in those early months of 2007, but none more difficult for me than on the night of May 7th, 2007. Ironically, I was returning back to my base in a 4-vehicle patrol after attending a memorial service for 2 young men that had been killed from Fort Riley. First Lieutenant Ryan Jones and Specialist Armando Sunson, 3 days earlier, had paid in full measure. I remember it was like yesterday. As I think about, when I say their names, I understand that these young men would not see their dreams come true. I understand that their families made an incredible sacrifice. And I'm reminded of the toll that the American people are paying for the price of freedom. As I said, as I was heading back to my headquarters, I was honestly struggling with this sacrifice, trying to make sense, trying to figure out if we're making progress. Was this worth it? And then wham, my vehicle's hit by an improvised explosive device. The blast lifted my 15,000-pound vehicle off the road. I remember being ejected and flying through the air and hitting the ground and coming to a rolling stop on my back. I knew what it was. It was actually the second time that my vehicle had been hit by an improvised explosive device since I'd been in Iraq. But this time was obviously different. I was pissed, and then I realized that I was severely injured. And the last thing that I said was, God, I don't want to die in this country, and I was out. But my teammates My teammates, men like First Sergeant Frederick Johnson, who was my acting battalion command sergeant major, would be the first to arrive at my vehicle, was the one that recognized that I was missing, would find me more than 100 meters, more than a football field from where my vehicle stopped, unconscious, lying in a pool of my blood, where he began to resuscitate me. And a young man, a young private first class, 19-year-old chemical specialist, would put the tourniquets on my legs, a fact that the doctors say saved my life. Now, what I want to key on is what's special about this young man. It's that 5 months earlier, as I said, he was the chemical specialist. He was responsible for taking care of the nuclear, biological, and chemical equipment in my unit. We call it NBC, or Nobody Cares. And as fate would have it, the medic that was assigned to my personal security detachment had slipped on some ice and broke his ankle, and he couldn't deploy with us immediately. We asked the Army for a replacement medic. They didn't have one to give us. So my headquarters first sergeant sent this young man, Eric Brown, to a two-week EMT course at Kansas State University in Manhattan, Kansas. He would literally finish this course just days before our deployment. Well, my chain of command had come back to me with the suggestion of putting this young man in one of my subordinate platoons and bringing up a medic for me. And I said no. I said no on the basis of the teamwork and preparation that had already taken place prior to our deployment. But more significantly and more personally to me, if that young man was good enough for my soldiers, then that young man was good enough for me. So I kept him as my medic. As I said, the doctors give him credit for saving my life. Now look, Greg Gadsden is now just the passenger. I'm not a hero. But I want to give you a perspective of their environment. First of all, I'll tell you that in those first 4 to 6 hours after I was wounded, I went through 129 units of blood. I will tell you that there's not a hospital in the United States that would give any of us in this room that much blood, if they even had that much blood. But more significantly about the environment, and really the sacrifice, was that in the month of May of 2007, 131 United States Army service members paid with their life. And more than 10 times that were severely wounded. I would arrive at Walter Reed Army Medical Center on the 11th of May, intubated on a feeding tube, requiring surgery every other day to clean out my wounds and repair my blood vessels. Just 1 week after being at Walter Reed, the blood vessels in my left leg could no longer sustain blood flow, and I started to bleed to death in the intensive care. A nurse, an ICU nurse, would pull off her belt, put a field expedient tourniquet on my leg. They took me into surgery and amputated my left leg above the knee to save my life. The next day, the same thing happened to my right leg. But the doctors were one step ahead, and they were able to pull a vein from my left bicep and put in my right arm, and they were able to save my right leg. Now, by this point, I was out of my induced coma, and I could communicate with the doctors. I like to say I was on a bunch of drugs, legal ones, and able to communicate again with the doctors. And ultimately, I would make the decision for the doctors to amputate my right leg. I figured that my quality of life would be better as you see me now or in prosthetics. So on the 24th of May, the doctors, in fact, amputated my right leg above the knee. When I came out of surgery, they gave me some more great news. They decided to re-x-ray my right arm before I went into surgery, and so when it came out, they told me that my right elbow and arm above my elbow were broken and would require surgery to repair. I'd been in a hospital nearly 3 weeks before they realized that. And unfortunately, due to complications from that surgery, I sustained ulnar and radial nerve damage, which still impacts the use of my right hand. And because my body was producing so much calcium, it ultimately caused my right arm to lock up at the elbow. So I was down to one limb. My non-dominant left arm and hand was all I could use. Before I was wounded, I was this 210-pound, strapping, handsome light colonel. And now I was 148 pounds. And I could not do anything for myself. And that's when I say I quit. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't want to live a life like this. You can't imagine living a life like this. And as my brother Scott said, we do lay down for a while. We do bleed. But I wasn't a quitter. And I had to rise up and fight again. Not knowing what my future had, not knowing what was in front of me. But more importantly, not doing this by myself. Greg Gatson didn't do this by himself. My classmates, my army, my community came to me in crisis. A crisis of confidence, a crisis of not knowing what was next. They softened the blow. My countrymen, communities like you, did not let me fall. And I realized that the Army really wasn't paying me for how fast I could run. That's a joke. And then I could soldier on. It was what was in my heart. It was what was in my head that made me a soldier, not the fact that I was a little bit shorter than I started out. And so I decided to continue my career, continue my fight, continue to serve for almost another 8 years before I retired. Now, what I don't want you to go away from here this morning is thinking that Greg Gatson did this themselves. You see, Operation Stand Down and its variations of it, is the communities throughout our nation, our government, working together is what got Greg Gatson and Greg Gatson's family through this challenge. I want you to know, I want to remind you that every service member has a story. As challenging as my story may sound, many of us out there, many out there lived that story. What I went through was devastating to those that I served with. I have talked to doctors, I have talked to medical professionals that took care of me that still think about it. And they think about the ones that didn't get through and the ones that didn't make it. This is about our community here in Tennessee, in Nashville. We've now put Afghanistan behind us as a country. But we have to be careful as a community, as a nation, not to put the service members that served over there behind us in the rearview mirror also. You see, these wounds, visible and invisible, are lifelong. They are lifelong sacrifices. Think about our World War II veterans that are alive today. We as a nation are still paying for World War II. Most of us in this room won't even see the debt of these wars be paid off. So I want to encourage all of you. I know that you're all patriots because that's why you're here. You recognize the need. You recognize the need to serve. You recognize the need to give. But I encourage you, I challenge you that when you leave here, that you grow this team, that you grow this effort. Because we've got a long way to go. There are sacrifices, there are crises that have yet to come. This debt that we have taken on as a country, this responsibility that we've taken on as a country, we're a long way. We're a long way from paying it off. And I thank you. I thank the patriots like you for what you've done for people like me and my family. God bless and thank you.
There's not much more you can say after that. Thank you so much for your service, and thank you for being here. We so appreciate you. But if you were as moved as I was, let's go ahead and get out those envelopes, scan the QR code. There's also a website as well. We want to make sure that all of your generosity goes to good use. The website that you can also donate on is osdtn.org/HB-donate. Of course, it's easier if you just scan those QR codes there on your table. Something else I wanted to remind you of, those beautiful flowers, those centerpieces that are on your table, those can also be purchased. You can just scan the QR code that's right there and then take those lovely flowers home for you. We want to thank you all for being here for our 11th annual Heroes Breakfast. I think it was certainly a success. Again, get home safe. And if you are continuing to serve, our prayers are always with you. And remember, because they serve, we give. And because you give, Operation Stand Down serves. Thank you so much. Be blessed.